Welcome to the Eye on Annapolis Local Business Spotlight. There are thousands of locally owned businesses in the area, some small and some large. Some you may know and others you don't. But one thing they all have in common is a great story, and we want to share it with you. Join us every Saturday as we talk to the founders, the owners, and the managers of local businesses you have come to know and love, and those you will come to know and love. Now here's your host, John Frenay, with this week's Local Business Spotlight.
I'm sounding a little bit like Superman because I'm saying it's a gift, it's a bookstore, it's a coffee shop, but it's kind of all of the above. And we are here with Amy Murphy, who owns it all, and she's going to tell us about Wyrd Bookstore. I've got to say congratulations. You're celebrating a year in business here in Edgewater. And I've got to say what has morphed into a very cool little shopping center. You're at Main Street at South River, which is, for those that have been here a while, the shopping center behind the old Kmart. It's so exciting to see this center really pick up because my kids were way little. We were going over to school and everything else. And it was always sort of like the shopping center that businesses came to die. I hate to say
that.
I hate to say that, but it was never. But now, my gosh, we've got the steakhouse, which has always been here and done good. And you've got Porpilla Cycles, you've got Cooper's Tavern, you've got, Wyrd, you've got Token, a couple doors down from you, the Coder people, and
Black March Bakery, all the
Thank God they're closed today because I don't need that. But congratulations on a year in business, and that's no small feat, as you know. Okay, I want to say that the website is Wyrd Bookstore, and Wyrd is not spelled like most people will hear it. It's W-Y-R-D. Is that a Gaelic?
Well, it's actually an old English word that we revived, and I love it because the meaning behind it is that, destiny is not predetermined. We all have a role in shaping our fate, but we're all in it together. So I just love that sentiment. And, here we have, Wyrd, obviously for books. We're very wordy people.
Sure.
But we're also very weird. And it's sort of the, ancestor root word, weird. And we're weird. And also, some people say wired, and we have a cafe. So no matter how you say it, you're not wrong. And, we just really love that sentiment because that was a lot of why we started Wyrd, was to really bring people back together and kind of bring, community and third space and, really just activate and empower people to, just come together and shape their lives.
Well, how did Wyrd all start? What got into you to said, I need to open up a bookstore?
Yeah, that's a good question. I get that a lot. So I used to be an attorney, and then I spent a lot of years home with my kids.
Okay.
And we'd moved a couple times, and I think it's always been very difficult to find community. Even if you've lived in the same place for a really long time, or if you've moved and you're a transplant, it's really difficult these days to find your people, find your tribe. And, with the way technology is, the way the world has moved, we focus so much on what's different and not what we have in common. So I really wanted to be part of really creating that space and holding space for people to come together. And books are just my love language. I love books. So if someone's having a baby, I'm like, here are the books that I think are amazing that I read to my kids a million times. And these are the ones I think you should have in your starter library. And if
Can you read Good Night Moon?
I probably could. Go Blue Track, all of them. Yeah, Runaway Bunny. I read. Yeah, we're tight. All those old books are really, they're really just part of the fabric of, my kids' childhood, and they're love language. And same thing with people going through, crisis. I think a lot of the customers who come here really were part of the Untamed movement, because that book would come up a lot when people came in, and they'd be going through something. I'm like, well, I would just refer books, but I used to, be the person who just gave those books as a friend. And so now being able to do that here is just like it's just a beautiful thing. So that's sort of where it came. And honestly, I was just driving down the road one day trying to figure out what was next for me. My kids were getting older. It was finally a good time for me to think beyond, the day-to-day. And I was driving down the street and I'm like, it's a bookstore. That's it. It's a bookstore. It's books and coffee and tea and all the things. And from then on, it just sort of was like a landslide of it's happening.
That's awesome. And one thing that you mentioned that is that you're focusing on the things that we have in common, as opposed to saying, in disclosure here, we're recording this on election day. Okay. All it takes is a little bit of digging to find the commonalities between us. We're living in such a divisive world right now. And, if you really look around, there's a whole lot more that binds us. Here's a book pun for you, than divides us. And
so true.
I really lament the time when I could sit down across with we'll say a political opponent, but somebody of a different party and of a different thought thing, and have a conversation. and walk away and say, okay, well, let's go get dinner and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
have have a beer and just realize that, okay, well, this is your belief, and that's really cool,
Yeah.
and this is my belief, and this is really cool, and we're still friends.
Exactly.
Hopefully we can slide back to that, and hopefully Wyrd is helping to ease that transition. But you're so much more than a bookstore. I mean, I was looking at your website, and again, it's wyrdbookstore.com. And, for lack of a better word, the menu that you have on your website is, I mean, you got tons of stuff. Okay, in the most basic sense, you're selling books, but you have book clubs, you've got story times, you've got local authors, you've got, it goes on and on. And we're living in a time where I'm seeing, I mean, yes, Amazon does exist, but I'm seeing a throwback. People want to get in. And I had a good friend of mine that told me a long, long time ago, he says, there will be a time when the internet was just coming out. There'll be a time when somebody's going to be at home going, I'd really like to go to the store and, feel that sweater and touch it. And people will be like, what? Why wouldn't you just click and have it come to your door?
Yeah.
And he says, no, it's going to come around. And I think that you're really on the cusp of that, because, people love the smell of a bookstore, love the smell of a coffee shop too.
Yeah.
But the feel of a book, there's nothing there. I mean, I love, I've reluctantly given up my newspaper subscription to a digital thing because it was basically because they couldn't deliver it reliably. But I mean, it was Sunday mornings. It was awesome, just to sit there and, crinkle the paper and fold it back on each other. And you get so much out of the written word.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, the thing is it's almost, there's a ritual and a ceremony to certain things. And I feel like, it's really important here, just in the cafe, that we have, mugs, and we have teacups and tea for ones, and we have things that you can hold in your hand. So it's not just come in and go out. It's not a pass through. It's come and sit a while, just exist. That's enough. And I feel like the more we slow down as people and just be together in the moment, it's like it's reactivating, I think, a part of our humanity that we've lost touch with. Like, technology is amazing. There's so many good things about it. E-readers and audiobooks and all of that is great. And, ordering online is great. But there's nothing like walking into a space where someone is excited to see you. They're glad you exist. They want you to come in and be a part of things, and to smell things, touch things, just have that, all your senses activated, and really kind of come back home to like being a fully inhabited human again. And I feel like that is like where we start here. It's about, we have used and new books. It's not just, what's trending at the moment.
Latest New York Times bestseller.
Yeah, and it is that, but it's also, there's so many good books that after, about 10, 15 years, they disappear because there's so much content that, it's really nice to have some old books, resurface and feel like, wow, that's a great book. And I didn't even know about it because I wasn't part of that moment in time. So
I mean, that's where you come in. I mean, if I'm looking for, these are the types of books I like to read. Oh, have you checked this out? Have you checked that out? And your staff is able to guide people.
Yeah, we do our best. It's funny because we keep trying to keep lists, and what's interesting about this first year is we're trying to be responsive to our community, because every community is a little different. It's like flavors of ice cream, some are pistachio, some are chocolate chip, and everyone, has a different. You might say that's what I'm saying. Like, everybody has their preference. And, we really want to be a welcoming place for all ages, all people, a neighborhood place. So everyone is welcome. But the thing about that is, we're a small store, so we can't have, everything for everyone, but we want to have a little bit for everyone and be able to, respond to what the community wants. So when people come in and they're like, I'm really into this book, that's our bread and butter. We love that, because then we get excited. We're like, oh, if you like this book, then you're going to like this author, and this one's coming out, and what about this? And we can even do a throwback. Have you read this, 20 years ago? Did you even know this one existed? And it's really, really neat to see people, get excited again about something and get passionate about books and stories and words. And I don't know, that's what we love to do. And we have a book of books in the front where we compiled lists of books that make you, fill in the blank. Books that make you cry, books that make you want to be a kid again, books that, and we just keep compiling, not only from us, but from customers. So when people come in and they're like, oh, that was a great book, I'm like, write it down, put it on our board so everyone can see. And then we take them down periodically and we add them to our book of books. Because there's nothing like having another human being, not an algorithm, but a human being say, I read this book and it was amazing, or it was really good, you should read it. Because then, that kind of like sharing is what I think, really resonates with people. And algorithms are great and they're quick and easy, but they don't always fit the bill.
No, they don't. They always miss, they usually miss the mark thing. I mean, we'll talk about AI that's coming. It's not going to replace everybody. I mean, the human touch is something that we crave, that we do. And I think that, when you look into a bookstore and you have somebody that's recommending, you've got the passion that's behind it. That's the special thing. Amazon, if I go to Amazon, I mean, they're just like, okay, well, we'll get it out. We'll, maybe they print it. Maybe we'll print it and ship it. And that's my turn. I can sit here and I can say, Amy, so what was so great about that book? And I imagine you're going to go off on a tangent about how great the book was. So what all is offered here at Wyrd? I mean, I looked at the calendar. I mean, you've got book clubs. So you've got predetermined type book clubs. I mean, you've got the crime and the drama and whatnot. But I mean, do you have just do you host general book clubs?
Yeah. So, when we started, we've been surprised, honestly, because people came forward and said, hey, do you do book clubs? And then we thought, oh, I guess we're going to. Yes, that sounds great. That's a great idea. And then that sort of evolved, and it's taken us a while to get our feet underneath us with it. But basically that just evolved into, groups of people who all really wanted to read mystery, really wanted to read memoir. And they kind of just congealed into groups that meet on a regular basis and have made friends. And it's been great. And then I started the Open Book Club, which I consider it for non-commitment introverts or booktroverts, as you call them, because people have a hard time, joining and committing to something, but it's still really fun to come talk about a book. So we pick a book at the beginning of the month and put it on Instagram and our website. And then the last Thursday of the month, we host an open book club and anybody can come. You don't have to RSVP. And honestly, you don't even have to read the book if you're okay with spoilers. Just come and talk about it. And it's been gaining a lot of momentum and it's really fun to see people come. And we pick a different genre every week. So I'm having a great time because I'm reading things I normally wouldn't. And it's fun.
Are you familiar with the One Maryland, One Book program? Maryland Humanities does this every year. And what they do is they select, and I'm sure there's a committee or a commission somewhere that does it.
Sure.
And they promote it out to, and there's always a theme behind it, whether it might be some, racial inequities or whatever it may be. And they promote it out that Maryland, as a state, everybody should read this one book throughout a period of time.
Oh my gosh, how do I not know about this? I'm writing this out now.
I'll send you.
I'm on it.
And what they do is they usually get the author to come and do like a little statewide tour to sit down in bookstores and, to talk about the book and to be able to, and they organize like the local libraries will organize different, and bookstores, different little, book clubs to talk about the book. And it's really kind of neat because it's that whole cohesive thing where you theoretically, everybody in the state read. I mean, you could have 6 million people sitting there all just talking about this one particular book.
Beautiful
thing for it, which would be really very cool.
It's beautiful. And that's the thing. I still find it surprising how many beautiful things are happening all the time and that I don't know about and, none of us know about. And like Maryland is just filled with good stuff. I mean, our library system's amazing. They are constantly putting out programs and all kinds of things that I don't know. I feel like really lucky to be a part of this community because every time I turn around, I'm like, oh, there's another cool thing I didn't know about. I got to get it on. Like, it's amazing.
The libraries are certainly not the library that I remember growing up.
Oh, not at all.
Yeah, there's not a card catalog to be found. I can do a drunk driving simulator in the house library, which is fast. I can rent a violin or a fishing rod and all sorts of crazy things like that, which is just really beautiful. I think Skip and his whole team at the library have just done a fabulous job. Yes. But let's get back to Wyrd. Okay, so you've got the book times, you've got story time, which I'm assuming is for kids. I mean, can adults come and sit on the floor and listen to?
We welcome all ages. We do not put restrictions on anything. We have story time at 10:30 on Thursdays, and we also offer it on Sunday at 11:30. And the reason we do that is because, some people stay at home and can come during the weekend. Some people work and can come on the weekends. And we want to make sure there's something for everybody. And we tried to time it so we were sort of on the off days that the library doesn't do story time. So there's some place to go every day. And yeah, we love doing that. So we have like a theme every week. We do, 2 or 3 books. We do songs where it's kind of interactive. We try to keep it fun. And yeah, now we have kind of a great crew of people, repeat, like visitors. And it's kind of cool because, they're starting to get to know each other too and creating their own little ecosystem of friendship, which is nice.
I think as I look around the store, I mean, you've got it's not a big store. I mean, like 3,000 feet or something like that. But there's lots of little nooks and crannies, so which is ideal for any kind of a bookstore. I mean, would you want to snuggle up in a corner and read, or maybe you want to sit across the table, have a cup of coffee, and talk about a book with a friend. It all can be done right here, which is really pretty neat. Do you support like local authors?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you talk about all the weird things Maryland has. I mean, we have a ton of local
Oh,
authors that
for sure. In fact, we were inundated because, as soon as we opened, a lot of local authors came forward and we really weren't prepared
Okay.
for the onslaught. So, it's taken us a little while to really figure out our system and policy because, we need to take great care, to fit it within our business model and be able to, support everyone.
If you've got a community here that doesn't read the analysis of the
Yeah.
chemical element charts.
Well, it's interesting you say that because, what I always have hated is, when you go out and there's a local author or even a more, nationally known author and they go to do a book signing and there's no one there. It's like the most like just heartbreaking thing because you have this beautiful work, this amazing gift of a book that's been put out into the world. And then to see someone just sit there and wait and have no one to talk to. I hate that. So, when we started doing this, we do a few specific events with one author. We'll have like a local author night, maybe once a month, something like that. But then what we like to do is twice a year. I think we're going to have one in January. I keep a list of all the local authors that have reached out that we may or may not be able to carry on our shelves or have a specific author night for. And we have like just a night where everyone comes, almost like an open house. So then we have, so we'll have like 12, 14 a night. And that way, we have a lot of people come to see everybody. And that way you can kind of take a tour, of all the talent. And, you may come because you're interested in this author who wrote a mystery book, but then you go to the next table and there's a poetry, collection. And the next one's a children's book. And it's really neat to kind of have that cross-pollination of different interests and also get everyone excited and get to know each other. So, writing is kind of a solitary thing. So when you bring authors together and they're able to get to know each other and form bonds that way, that's also really positive. Yeah, so that's what I'm excited to do that. In fact, I'm literally preparing to get that ready for January now because it was great. We did that when we first opened because there were so many authors who came out and I thought we got to do something to make this happen.
And I'm going to imagine that there's some very good authors and there's some that are not so very good. And
it's in the eye of the beholder. And for us, it's also, because we're new and we're still getting our feet underneath us, we also have to make sure, it's within our business model that we can support it. So like we don't take books on consignment and, we have certain restrictions we have to have because otherwise we just can't administer it. We can't manage it. So that's the main drawback with, local authors in particular is if we can't get them through our regular distribution process, it's just kind of a nightmare for us administratively. And we just can't do that yet. So we have to have
maybe sometime.
Maybe you're right. I mean, we're only a year in, so you never know.
Well, I do encourage everybody to check out wyrdbookstore.com and check out that calendar because a lot of times you go to a business and it says, hey, check out our calendar. And there's like just, Friday, Saturday nights or something like that. But your calendar is chock full.
Well, and we're kind of excited because we've really gotten into a groove with our events. And, because obviously we love books and we want to do book related things, but we're kind of expanding into like what the community wants. And, we teamed up with School of Rock in Arnold and they come and support an open mic night. So a lot of people, especially like teenagers and folks who want to come sing, play their instrument, they can come and it was a huge hit. So we have an open mic night. We have a lot of great chefs around here. And one of them who's in Italy right now, she's coming back and she's going to help people write recipes because that's something you don't think about as a literary thing. But what a great gift for the holidays to be able to take that recipe that you've been making for years and it's your signature dish and be able to write it properly into a recipe and gift it out for Thanksgiving and Christmas. So that's a fun get together. And then we have, like a nutcracker tea. So you can bring, your little one dressed up and you can have a sugar plum fairy tea and you get the copy of the nutcracker. And it's just a cozy experience to bring someone you love and celebrate it. And self-care tea for the holidays, because the holidays get stressful. Yeah, so we're gonna make sure you carve out some time for you to have some take a minute for you. So we try to do a lot of things like that that are not just, book and author related, but community related and kind of just taking care and really enjoying just being, a part of this environment,
We are building community.
Yeah, that's my goal. I really want to bring people together. And I think that like we talked about earlier, there's so much we have in common. And what's kind of humbling and astonishing to me is since we opened our doors, only the most beautiful people have walked in. Like, you hear horror stories about, especially cafes, right? And how people are treated or if they don't get the order right. And, there's this like, stressful kind of dynamic. And I think it's been very intentional from the beginning of starting Wyrd that, we want everyone to feel good here. Our employees should feel good and empowered, and the customers should feel good. And we need to give each other some grace and some, room to just be. And, people come in and they'd start apologizing every time they use the card reader because every card reader is different, right? So you put it in and there's a button here or there's a next step or flip it over, insert it, swipe it. It's always different. So everyone would immediately, knee-jerk reaction would be to apologize. Oh, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, there are no apologies in the store. Unless you've done something that really warrants an apology, you don't need to walk around apologizing for all these silly things. And I think that, that being intentional about the kind of, dynamic we want here has been just so eye-opening for me because people have just brought out the best in themselves. And it's amazing.
You on retail is so admirable. I mean, I was at a store up in White Bear Lake, Minnesota not too long ago. And I walked in. I mean, I was just in town for a little bit and I had no intention of buying anything. I was just, but they went out of their way to really, I don't know what it was. And I felt it here when I walked in, but I mean, you just felt welcomed. Okay. I didn't feel bad that I left without buying anything. I did buy something, but I would not have felt bad. And there were other stores that were up there. And again, this is a real small little town and, but they were like, thank you for coming in and checking us out.
Yeah.
And, it's not just oh, okay, so you're just kicking the tires or you're just going to sit there and put your grubby thumbs on my books and put it back where it wasn't when you found it. And that really makes a difference. And that what I've found is, I mean, I'm going on probably about 250 or so of these podcasts. That's what really sets one place in the retail world apart from the other is just how that they treat their customers. I mean, if you're a problem, if you treat your customers as a problem, and if you treat them as and if I'm in here just doing a job, I mean, I realize that nobody in here is, making $250 a year. They're doing it for the love, but they love what they do, and that really is what sets the good places apart from the bad. And
I sure hope so. It's a long. Well, I really appreciate you noticing that, honestly, because it is an uphill battle. Because I think so much of our culture pushes to, sales first, make a buck, like streamline everything, just be very numbers oriented. And I've always been of like the stakeholder theory that I feel like it's all about the people first. And it's about our employees feeling good when they come to work. It's about them feeling empowered to like try new things. Everyone who comes in, I'm like, I can't offer you, like you said, this huge salary and all these wonderful things yet, but I can offer you opportunity. If one of our employees loves vinyl records, and I'm always like, you want to, bring them in, we can pair records with books, we can make a whole thing. And, other people who want to have more experience, with Instagram and, social media, I pull them in and I'm like, I want you to flourish and grow, and do what brings you joy and enables you to find more of who you are. And I feel like that's what I want to do with everybody here. And I want people to come first. And that's sort of a long-term strategy to stay open, because you're trusting in the fact that, this is all going to eventually make sense to people and they're going to want to support us and keep our doors open. And I think, that's the only way I want to succeed. Like I want to succeed based on the fact that this is a valuable thing that people want to contribute and be a part of, and if that works, then that will fulfill me in ways that like, no quick buck, whatever. Yeah.
That's fantastic. All right, you mentioned you were a lawyer.
Yeah.
How did that jump happen?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's very different. I don't know. I think I really wanted to change the world, I guess is what the connecting tissue is. When I first got out of college and I wanted, I came to DC because I wanted to, be a part of the political system. I wanted to, make great sweeping changes and just be this force of good and all that. And, as I've aged and life has taught me so much along the way, I feel like instead of a top-down approach of changing the way the world functions systemically, I feel like it's so much more valuable to me to start with the little things. It's like a ripple, a little pebble into the pond and how it just ripples out. And when people feel good and people feel seen and heard and valued, they bring out the best of themselves, and the best of everybody just compounds. And the next thing you know, we're all doing better. We're all working together better, and it just creates its own momentum. So I feel like the same thing I wanted to do with being in the law and helping people find justice and goodness and all that. I just feel like I've gone from macro to micro. Like I want to be a little change in the world that just kind of reverberates out and helps other people be a change in the world and be the best version of
Well, it
themselves.
seems like you've got a much better opportunity to do it in a smaller pond in Edgewater than you do. It's big
Exactly.
capital of DC.
Yeah, and I think, we all feel a little bit disempowered that way. It just seems like such a daunting thing to go out into the world and, make all these sweeping changes or make it reflect what we really want. And then everyone kind of throws their hands in the air. They're like, forget it. It's too hard. It's rough out there. And it is. But I feel like when you kind of just bring it back and focus on, your neighbor and the person who you meet every day, and you just enjoy those interactions, and you try to be the best person you are every day, like it just makes a huge difference. And so I don't know. So lawyering was not really for me long term. I think it was very beneficial. It taught me a lot. It really gave me a lot of skills that I still use today.
Sure, I'm sure you're probably.
Yeah, it's definitely been helpful for sure. Yeah, for sure. But I think, the impact I wanted to have, I think this is where
It's a little bit more personal.
yeah, I think that's just the way I am. I want it to be personal. Everything. There's that movie, You've Got Mail, and I hadn't seen it until I was opening this, and someone said, "You need to see this," and I was like, and so I watched it, and I understood because the Meg Ryan plays that bookstore owner, and I think there's a beautiful quote in that movie where she says, "Before anything is anything else, it should be personal." And I thought that's exactly it. Before anything is anything else, it should be personal. It should matter to you. It should matter, at your center, your core, and then from there, it can be whatever you want it to be.
What was your biggest challenge opening? I mean, you've switched careers, and did you grab I'm assuming at some point in your life you probably work retail or something.
No,
No?
honestly, no. I mean, that has been the biggest challenge, is really coming up to speed. It's been a very steep learning curve. It's been very, so many hats all at the same time. And as much as I knew there'd be, 6 or 7, there really are like 75 hats in a small business. And so trying to, one, come up to speed and be competent in all of those areas, and finding the right people to help, make the dream come true, because it's a team. There's a team effort. There's no way anyone can do it by themselves. So that's been, a big challenge for me, just really trying to learn as fast as I can, be as good and perfect as I can at everything across the board, which is impossible, but trying anyway. And then finding the right people to join me on the journey.
What was your biggest whoops?
Biggest whoops. Oh my goodness. You know what? I feel like there's been so many little whoopses, to be honest. I don't even know if there's a big one. It's just lots of little ones.
See, I'll tell you, but don't tell me, because when I ran a Cub sale pack, it was like, you don't tell them what the plan is. That way they don't know what the mistakes are.
Oh, I like that. That's a good one. Exactly.
How did you pull it off so well? Because I didn't tell you what I was doing.
Exactly. And they're none the wiser. Yeah, no, there's been no big whoopses. None. Yes. It's all going according to plan perfectly.
Sure. Do you see Wyrd expanding? Okay, yes. Obviously you could maybe take the space next. I know your neighbor's Token started out small, and they knocked a hole in the wall and took the place next to them. It's very similar to you as well. Then they find out what the community wants as far as the games they want to play, and they attract rookies that are coming in to do that. They just really found their local gaming audience and morphed their business around it, which is pretty much what you're doing.
Yeah. And honestly, it's funny you mentioned earlier about the center just really blowing up and expanding. And I think what's so beautiful about being here is that all these businesses are small businesses, and they have their own niche, and they're just so community focused, and you can feel it. So our whole plaza just feels like this great neighborhood community. And Token is amazing. They have such community going on there, the games, all the things. Black Market has their loyal folks over there. And it's so nice to see everybody have this, resurgence of small business and support of the community. But it's funny because everyone's kind of expanded already here. So even if we were going to be able to expand, it wouldn't be in this space because we can't create space out of nothing. We're on this end unit too. But
Would be the beautiful end unit because you've got the summit streams in on the tables and everything else. So it's nice.
I love it. I really do. But I think we just want to really, lay a foundation that is strong and solid and just become, like a pillar of the community so that we're just here for the long term and just kind of a part of everyday lives. And then, we're open to all the things that could happen. We're open to expanding a little bit. I know we attract a lot of people from, the southern part of the county because there aren't any bookstores that way. They have to come all the way up to Annapolis. And I love that. I love being able to provide that. So, maybe down the road we could expand even farther down there or something. But I don't think it's really on our agenda. I mean, we're just year one. I think we just really want to root. We just want to root and become really just a part of things. And, just
Well, we've got Barnes and Noble, but we had Borders at the mall at one time that went away. But and Barnes and Noble is really kind of an Amazon storefront, if you will. They're just too big. I mean, it's very impersonal, and I think books are very personal. You look at you got Back Creek Books, which does a lot of true historical books, and Rock does a great job there. And then you look at the guys at the Old Box Books and Brown Mustache that they do a great job. But that's really
and Park Books too. Yeah.
Oh, that's right, up in Sort of Park.
Yeah, we have a couple really great. I feel like there's a comeback because there's the death of the independent bookstore back in the 90s, and everything's going to be online.
That was a whole different world because you were going against the Barnes and Nobles and the Borders, which were just these giant behemoths.
Yes.
And then they went up against Amazon, and it is coming around full circle, which is really very neat. And
It is neat.
there's really nothing better when you come in and sit here and you can look at the books. I mean, just at the colors. I mean, I shop books pretty much on covers. So, oh, that looks like it. And then I get in and figure that out. People looking over the side of them, I say, I can't stand fiction.
Gotcha.
I just don't like stories made up. And if it's science fiction, I'm check out before I even get there. Give me a great biography. Give me a great history. Give me that. I'm all about that.
Yeah.
But again, like you said, it's everybody's got their own a little preference.
Which is the joy of it, and when everyone has, I think that the fun thing about being here is it exposes me to all these different passions and interests. So, I'm the same, right? We all kind of have our preferences and where we like to stay. But, being a bookstore owner, I get to kind of dabble in a little bit of everything. And I find it fascinating, the breadth of diversity and interest that people have. And it's always people you don't expect. I mean, there's like a 12-year-old who comes in. Actually, there are many young people reading very big books. And I don't know if Harry Potter started it and, all the, Rick Riordan and all those authors. But he came in and he was, halfway through all of the classics. And he was reading hardcore classic literary fiction and, needed recommendations. And I was just in awe of this kid, and then someone else would come in and they've already been through 6 books in the past 2 weeks. And I'm just kind of floored at the range of readers out there in their age groups, and other people who've never picked up a book, they'll read Colleen Hoover because it's all the rage. They saw the movie and then they come in and they're like, what else is like this? And then, that same type of reader, 6 months later, is like, oh, I need to, branch out. I'm not into this anymore. What else can you give me? Because now I'm hooked. And it's really interesting to see people evolve just in their own reading experience and their own, I don't know, exposure, because it's fascinating to me.
Well, I know my youngest daughter is a voracious reader, and it did start. I will, blame J.K. Rowling or Harry Potter because she got the first one, got really into it, and then it was just every other one. And I mean, we were going into at that time, the Barnes and Noble, and I mean, and she was in probably 5th, maybe 4th grade, and I mean, she's picking up these 2-inch thick books and going through them like in a heartbeat.
It's amazing.
The next one, and it's really kept, and that's certainly not what I was like when I was a kid. I mean, it's like, where's my bike? I need to get out.
Don't make me read. Don't make me.
I mean, the best way to support Wyrd Bookstore is to, first of all, come in here and check this out. There's plenty of free parking, and it's at the, like I said, there's the main street at South River, which is the little center behind the Kmart or Tractor Supply Company. I think it's now in there. For those that like Euros, it's the center behind Chris's. It has the best Euros in town.
Mm-hmm.
Come in. I mean, what are your hours?
So we're open from 9 to 8 every day except Sunday. Sundays we're open 11 to 5. But in the new year, we may be changing our hours a little bit and being open more on Sundays and maybe closing during the week. We'll see how that goes. But we like to be as open as possible. And, especially with the coming holidays, we have a lot of gifts and we have a lot of unique gifts and we do cratefuls. I don't know if you saw the baskets we have, but I create these reusable baskets with books and other kind of gifts like journals, mugs, tea, and they're all really unique and handmade. So you can order them ahead of time and tell me, hey, I need a gift for my coworker, my grandma, whoever. And they like this kind of thing. They love reading this book. So they're not really into books, but they like dogs, they like crochet, they like, whatever their hobbies are, their interests. And I can put together, a handmade tailor custom gift.
Very gift.
Yeah. And I love doing that because it's fun. And there's so many great books and things that people don't even know about. You may not be a reader, but you may really, find a joke book delightful or this random collection of, like right now, Gilmore Girls, it's the season of Gilmore Girls and everybody loves Gilmore Girls. And, so we like to do displays around the store that are kind of unique and fun. And one of them we just did is Gilmore Girls because, the woman who plays Emily Gilmore just had her memoir come out. And, the woman who plays Lorelai, she has lots of books out. But then there's the, Gilmore Girls cookbook. There's all the funny, talk as fast as you can. Yeah, there's a new book coming out about all the fast talking and things like that. So like being able to, play into something that someone loves already and make them a basket based on Gilmore Girls. They may not have been, hey, come show me, like you are, right? Like I don't read fiction. Don't give that to me. But it would be delightful to thumb through a coffee book or a coffee table book on this or that, and then have other things in the basket that are just delights, So that's what I like to do, even for like the non-readers. I like to give them something fun that they're surprised by.
I'm liking all of your passion on this thing. And I mean, you are passionate about this, which is really, really very cool. Come in, go to Wyrd Bookstore, WYRD bookstore.com. The website's, I want to say, it pales in comparison to the experience of coming in, which
We'll work on that.
But
it's only been a year. We're getting there.
Which it should. But take a look at the calendar on there, and there is something going on here pretty much every day of the month. The last time I looked, there are book clubs for any type of person that wants to come in and do it.
Writing clubs, crochets and lattes. If you want to meet some crochet friends, also
pass on that one.
No crochet. How about mahjong? Apparently that is all the rage. So we have a lot of groups come play mahjong here.
I've heard my grandmother use that term.
It's an old Chinese game, and it is taken over everywhere. Every time I turn around, there's a mahjong table playing. I'm like, what is happening? It's like
my friend and I have been threatening to go down to the market house and just start playing backgammon one night. So it's
fun. That's fun. Well, we do a board game night. We just had it last week. So, come play some Battleship, a little Scrabble,
Okay, so we've got books. We've got coffee. We've got gifts. We've got book clubs. We've got board nights. We've got a new author extravaganza coming up in some January or local author extravaganza was coming up. And there's a ton of stuff packed in 3,000 square feet of Wyrd Bookstore right here in Edgewater. A great addition to the community, and it is to the community because you are building it, and I want to thank you so much for your time. I want to thank you for breaking that here, and I look forward to the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and beyond year.
We'll see.
But thank you so much, Amy. And again, Wyrd Bookstore, WYRD bookstore.com, and 135 Mitchell's Chance Road is the address if you need to put it into a GPS.
Yep.
Definitely make it a point to get down here and check out what they got. I guarantee that everybody is going to find something surprising, and they'll be back.
Oh, thank you so much. This was so much fun. I appreciate you.
Thanks for listening to this week's Local Business Spotlight. Please make sure to visit eyeonannapolis.net for all your local news, events, and opinion. And in case you haven't already, please subscribe to the Eye on Annapolis Daily News Brief, where we bring you all the day's local news direct to your phone, tablet, or computer in about 10 minutes. It comes to you at 6 a.m. every Monday through Friday, and you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.